Investigators have tracked down the deadly secret behind the elite group that tries to rule the world. When the population gets too big to handle, the solution is cut it down.
There's an entire agenda afoot to force the population to undergo different type of medical treatments, namely vaccines. We're seeing a medical tyranny being set up, not just in the United States, but worldwide under the UN and the World Health Organization. They want a planetary dictatorship so they can carry out their forced depopulation agenda, and they want to do it through the medical system. And that's why vaccines are so important. We know that many of these vaccines turn out to have serious adverse reactions, that this is being done by design. They kill you slowly over time. That's why they're called soft kill.
We must acknowledge that the genetic COVID-19 genetic injections cause far more harm than good and provide zero benefit relative to risk.
The death rates from this vaccine there's been more deaths in 8 months than in all the billions of vaccines combined over the last 30 years.
50% of the deaths occur within 48 hours, 80% within a week.
And I've got an insider I think you should really talk to, Dr. Rima Lebo.
Alex, you sounded urgent.
There's an entire agenda afoot to force the population to undergo different type of medical treatments, namely vaccines. We're seeing a medical tyranny being set up, not just in the United States, but worldwide under the UN and the World Health Organization.
Who's behind all this?
The Bilderberg Group. They want a planetary dictatorship so they can carry out their forced depopulation agenda, and they want to do it through the medical system. And that's why vaccines are so important. We know that many of these vaccines turn out to have serious adverse reactions, that this is being done by design. They kill you slowly over time. That's why they're called soft kill. We're seeing a medical tyranny being set up, not just in the United States, but worldwide under the UN and the World Health Organization.
Who's behind all this?
The Bilderberg Group.
In a very short time, not today, not tomorrow, but very soon, we'll be facing compulsory vaccination under the mistaken term of voluntary vaccination.
Now, what is it about these vaccinations? You think that they're bad?
Well, first of all, let's start with the fact that the World Health Organization has decided that we have 90% too many people. The World Health Organization has been working since 1974 on vaccines to create permanent sterility.
Now, this is pretty shocking.
This process has already been ongoing. To make matters worse, the vaccines that were illegally approved by the FDA.
The more we know about the brain, the more we can develop ever more selective agents to affect the structures and functions of the brain in cognition, emotion, and actions, and the more we can do so in a way that's more like sharpshooting rather than buckshotting. But irrespectively, drugs can be somewhat dirty. What I mean by that is they can have a host of adverse effects, some of them side effects, some of them direct effects. And very often what we'll find is that unless we're able to deliver the drugs directly to a particular site in the brain or elsewhere in the nervous system, they can have heterogeneity of effects throughout the body. That can lead us to some undesirable outcomes.
They contain a substance called squalene.
Squalene, an organic compound used in vaccines to stimulate the immune system and increase the response.
If I inject you with squalene, your immune system will attack the squalene, but then it starts attacking all of the parts of your body. What does that look like when you meet a person to whom that is happening? It looks like Gulf War syndrome. It looks like every joint in the body swollen and intolerably painful and immobilized.
This is in these shots they're going to give us?
It's in some of them, but the U.S. government has a trick up their sleeve.
Which is?
They will induce a pandemic using the nasal mist vaccine, which is a live attenuated virus. That means that if I take it, I can infect you. You're going to get the flu. Everybody around us is going to get the flu.
Yes, it's startling, but it's over in a moment.
That's it. It's all done.
A new report tonight that early CDC coronavirus tests were probably contaminated.
Why didn't they work initially? The Post reports the cross-contamination most likely occurred because chemical mixtures were assembled into the kits within a lab space that was also handling synthetic coronavirus material.
a production firm in Luxembourg said that core parts of their test had been contaminated with coronavirus. This was reported by The Telegraph.
Now, the best protection against COVID-19 could be by going up your nose.
What nasal or mucosal vaccines do, they concentrate the immune protection in the upper airway.
We do have a nasal spray vaccine for influenza virus, so-called flu mist, which has not exactly been a game changer. So I'm a little skeptical about how this nasal spray vaccine will work out. But
Then the United States government, based on their statements that they've already made, will say, oh my, we have a pandemic.
Like Goldman Sachs. Now, Metabiota is a subcontractor for the Department of Defense's engineering firm, Black & Veatch. Remember that name. This is where it gets really interesting, because according to official documents uncovered by investigators at the expose, government funding records show the Department of Defense awarded $370,000 to biolabs in Ukraine for COVID-19 research in November of 2019. For anyone keeping track, that's 3 months before the WHO officially even named the Chinese virus COVID-19.
Like, what were those executives at USAID trying to hide? Well, we got some of what they were trying to hide, ladies and gentlemen. Here is a synopsis of it. Now, there's some legal stuff. Legal-looking stuff. It's not actually legal. But here's the gist of it. This is the tip of the iceberg, and this is a pretty big tip of an iceberg, ladies and gentlemen. Summarized here with this tweet that Elon retweeted. Let me get this straight. Fauci's NIAID and USAID sent over $40 million in U.S. taxpayer support to a scientist in Wuhan, China, who was working on bat coronavirus emergence research, who also became patient zero for COVID-19. Congratulations to him. That's a big accomplishment. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you might be thinking, Biden pardoning Fauci certainly makes a lot of sense now, and it made a lot of sense to begin with. It just makes more sense now. If we start thinking for ourselves, with the information we just saw, that information alone, we would say this agency that Trump is shutting down and cleaning out because it is nothing but a ball of corrupt trash using your and I's money, because they have no money themselves. They use taxpayer money, which means it's our money, to do devious work. Devious work number one, start a pandemic. Was it a serious pandemic? No, it was taken very seriously, though. That's a huge problem. So they were using our money to the tune of $40 million, sending it to, a lab in Wuhan, China, doing bat coronavirus research. And the scientists they were sending it to at that lab became the first person to get infected with COVID-19. Now you might say, I didn't know that scientist also went to the wet market to lick the pangolin that had COVID-19 that came from nature, just natural emergence. Well, that's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. And you have to ask yourselves, aside from plandemic, we know it, crimes against humanity. Yes. Save that discussion for another time, though, because the first discussion, just point blank range, is an agency that uses $40 million to fund research that allegedly sets off a worldwide pandemic that then becomes the justification used to usher in totalitarian lockdowns and control for multiple years. Is that a wise use of U.S. taxpayer money? No.
According to the CDC's own literature, the tests do not rule out bacterial infection or other viruses. They are detecting all varieties of coronavirus, including the common cold, and counting it as COVID-19.
I mean, the great thing about having forms that come in and a form that has the ability to mark it as COVID-19 infection, the intent is right now that if someone dies with COVID-19, we are counting that as a COVID-19 death.
We aren't pressured to test for flu, but ER doctors now, my friends that I talk to say, it's interesting, when I'm writing up my death report, I'm being pressured to add COVID. Why is that? Why are we being pressured to add COVID to maybe increase the numbers and make it look a little bit worse than it is?
The 248-page patent for the Moderna technology that was administered to people in the COVID shots was filed in 2020. The patent lists several embodiments or variations of this technology. And while we don't know who got what embodiment, we know that several different batch numbers were deployed, and some were far more deadlier than others. According to the Moderna patent, this technology contains self-assembled nanoparticles, and in certain variations, these nanoparticles can be used for the controlled release of compounds once they are in the human body. These lipid nanoparticles are encapsulated into a polymer hydrogel, a controlled release coating that includes polyvinyls. This has been verified by Anna Mielchia and Clifford Carnicom's research. In a 2013 TEDMed talk, Dr. Ido Bachelet says that these nanorobots have already been successfully developed in Israel, and that they can be injected into the human body with a basic syringe. He shows an image of what they look like, and they appear to be the same structures that the fifth column found in their research, and claimed was powered by 5G, which was confirmed by Dr. Bachelet.
March 16th, 2018. The U.S. government's Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, commonly known as DARPA, announces a bold initiative to develop what they call next-generation non-surgical neurotechnology. It is designed to allow the human brain to directly interface with machines. In the near future, DARPA may possess the technology to remotely control the human mind. But as concerning as that may be, according to some scientists, a more permanent kind of mind control technology is looming. And it involves modifying the human brain by altering the human body's DNA.
The future of mind control, and the future being right now because these experiments are being done, is using gene editing tools. And one of them would be CRISPR. The way it works is take the CRISPR, which are these short alternating repeats of DNA. You put that together with an enzyme called Cas. And so you take the CRISPR that you want to use, and you put these pieces together that can be injected and insert this DNA to certain areas of the brain so that we can change brain cells and turn you into something you wouldn't otherwise be. So in this way, gene editing technologies like CRISPR really form a definite basis for future mind control.
One Jew saying about the other Jew, like this shit he used to talk about genetics sounded like the Nazis to me. I don't know what he was up to, but it didn't sound good. And it was about eugenics, creating like using genetic engineering. And by the way, Jeffrey Epstein funded the research that led to CRISPR. Our CRISPR, state-of-the-art genetic engineering, that research was funded by him too.
Humans are now hackable animals. You know, the whole idea that humans have, you know, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over. Free will, that's over. That's over. Over.
1/3 of the European population is not vaccinated. These are 150 million people. This is a lot. And not each and everyone can be vaccinated. So there are very small children, for example, or people with special medical conditions, but the vast majority could. And therefore, I think it is understandable and appropriate to lead this discussion now, how we can encourage and potentially think about mandatory vaccination within the European Union. This needs discussion.
People lining up, sometimes by the hundreds, for an H1N1 flu shot.
What that means is a Holocaust, a genocidal Holocaust. Men and women will sicken and die, and those who survive will be infertile.
If people start dying massively from these inoculations, won't there be like a revolution, a rebellion, a rising up from the peasants?
What we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on. that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the world. Grateful.
And that's true in Argentina too. Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's true in Argentina as well.
It's true in Argentina, and it's true in France now. I'm with the president, who is a young global leader. But what is important for me is those young global leaders have an opportunity to come here. Right. And we have established a course now since several years. And I think this cooperation has a tremendous impact.
The difference of this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing. It changes you. If you take genetic editing, just as an example.